your senior security solution architect that focuses on threat detection and incident response. Coming back from day 2, AWS Summit, Washington, D.C. They thought they could get rid of me. I'm inevitable, baby. We have our awesome producers on the table over there. Wave hi, you can't see them. Nick's still trying to find his on button. We have our awesome camera crew in the background, and then our legendary ASL interpreters actually here live today. How awesome is that? I'm joined by my good friend, Jeff Afal.
Hey everyone, my name is Jeff Mershak. I'm a senior solutions architect on our DoD Air Force team, and it is great to be back to my 3rd DC Summit here in Washington, D.C. It's a little bit smoggier today than it was yesterday.
Got to bring that smoke.
Yeah.
Day 1 was awesome, though. We talked about Amazon Bedrock,
yeah.
Amazon Personalized with Discovery Ed. We learned so much about, I learned a lot about the human genome and how we're providing open data for genomics through Amazon Onomics. And I think we have some more awesome content for the rest of the day. So Jeff, why don't we just go ahead and kick it off with who these two fine gentlemen are here with us today.
Yeah, let's pass it over. Could you guys introduce yourselves and give us a little bit of overview of what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so my name's Garrett Pollard. I'm one of the senior specialists here on our cloud operations team. So pretty much everything native when it comes to monitoring, observability, governance, compliance, and really looking forward to talking a little bit about how cloud ops can really make a really positive impact when people are migrating and modernizing, and see how we can help everyone out there have those conversations and get things rolling the right way.
Awesome, great. And I'm Curran O'Brien. I'm our senior manager for public sector migrations. I'm here to just chat a bit with Garrett as well about the importance of cloud operations and the role that it plays in actually migrating to the cloud at scale.
Now, you mentioned a few key terms that always get my ears to perk up. Governance, compliance, but also migration too, because we do have a lot of customers that haven't started on AWS and they're looking to move from an on-prem environment to using AWS and like the awesome capabilities that AWS has to offer. But there's some processes that have to kind of happen when you're migrating. What would you say are a couple of the common themes that you've seen when a customer migrates to AWS?
Yeah, one thing that's been really interesting, helping customers migrate over the years, when a customer's planning or initiating their first large migration from on-premise to the cloud, we always ask them, what are the open questions, the open items that you're most concerned with? And what's really interesting is we almost never get questions about the actual migration, moving things from on-premise to the cloud. The questions are always about what happens after. Your people, your process, your governance, your operations, all those things that need to transform as you actually move things from on-premise to the cloud. And it makes sense because if you think about when we talk about migrations, we're really not talking about moving things to the cloud. Customers aren't migrating for the sake of migrating. Our customers are migrating because of the transformational benefits, the IT transformation that happens after you migrate. So. Right. Most of the time when we talk about migration, we're really talking about what happens afterwards and how you can maximize those benefits of cloud IT at scale.
And there's always, the coined phrase, people, process, technology, and I'm always like, show me the technology, but we also got to get the people and process kind of up to speed, but also migrate the knowledge and processes too of how they're going to do their day-to-day operations.
Yep, absolutely. So if you look at some of the common frameworks that are used to help prepare for a migration, there's so much more than migration. When we go and help a customer self-assess or leverage our frameworks, we're talking about things like governance consistently, operations. All of those things need to transform to truly take advantage of cloud and maximize benefits. But what's also really interesting is how over time we've developed technology that helps transform some of those other areas beyond the migration operations itself, right? So it's really interesting. You talk about the 3 legs of the stool. So often I say, we might be talking about the people and process, but even that always relates back to technology. They're so intertwined. And so that's what we're really excited about for today in these upcoming sessions, is helping everyone here understand how the technology that AWS offers can help transform things like process, governance, operations as they move to a cloud IT model.
So speaking of some of those hurdles that we're trying to help our customers with, what are some common hurdles that we see across many customers.
Yeah. I'll say that the first thing we always like to warn against, and the biggest mistake that we see, is customers are tempted to really focus on getting to cloud as fast as they can without thinking about the people in the process and the rest of the transformation. Yeah. So, the biggest hurdle, and again, if we look at, where maybe someone falls behind their schedule for cloud, it's actually because they try to migrate too fast before they've built that operational foundation for success.
Yeah, well, because a lot of times the tech folks, we understand it. We're like, oh yeah, we just move this application here and we understand all this stuff, but it's I don't want to say anything bad about the upper management, but sometimes it's the people processes to get buy-in for this migration. Yes. And to also get the business engaged, because making sure the business understand that there's some advantages there as well, not just cool stuff for the tech guys.
Absolutely. IT finance is one of the largest areas that transforms. Other areas that folks may overlook, HR. Think about job roles, people and skills, career paths. Think about even just the business outcomes that you're trying to drive and achieve. Yeah. Cloud technologies enable new business outcomes that weren't available before. So, one of the things that can be really powerful early on in a migration is to get everyone in the room, all those different stakeholders that you just mentioned, and talk through what are they trying to accomplish, what do they think needs to transform, and what are the potential blockers and barriers that they see.
Yeah, and to that point also, one of the questions that I hear a lot is, what tools should I use? And there's so many tools out there to help, and they all fit different use cases. But where do they start when it comes to the tooling?
Oh man, where do we begin? First off, but also to double back on the previous thing we mentioned that kind of dovetails neatly into this when we talk about the whole people process thing. Observability, really big topic. Everyone's really mysterious. What is it? How do we accomplish it? It's really interesting where we find that the big disconnect when people do put these strategies together tends to be not talking to the business end around what are our business KPIs. Everyone's just kind of like, let the tech guys do the tech guys. Great, we have the health of our environment, but we're not helping the business accomplish its full, vision. But with that, it kind of dovetails nicely into all the tools and services we have here too.
Yeah, and AWS has lots of awesome services and tools to help with migrations and observability, and then we have our partners that have their own sort of platforms to help accomplish certain outcomes as well. And it's just, where do they start?
Man, well, there's a lot of resources and a lot of partners. It can definitely be extremely overwhelming for some folks, that's for sure. But when it does come to the tooling that they have available, we also can't. We got to look at it as not so much a stressful thing. At the end of the day, we can't downplay that migrations are not the easiest thing for people, and that these tools are meant to actually be really helpful. And we do have a lot of amazing partners. I mean, we've all been strolling around the concourse here, seeing all these partners that do a lot of these great things. And really, everyone's cloud journey is really different. So it really depends on what their goals are. There is no one size fits all for these tools. So I think it's really leaning on folks like Curran's team or my team or the specialist organization and their account team in general to really help guide them in the right direction and what really makes most sense.
And you mentioned, migrations, they can take some time. So you got to recognize that you're going to be operating in multiple environments for a period of time until your migration is completed. And so what are some things to look for when looking at different services and tools from like a hybrid approach?
Yeah, well, I mean, that is a very important question because it does depend on what that hybrid environment looks like. Not all tools have those type of capabilities, but what I can say is that we do actually have native capabilities to do this now. And contrary to some belief, our native tools can really work in on-prem environments, can help with that migration process as well.
Gotcha. Let's talk. I see we hear a lot about migration and modernization. Can we say what the difference is? Because sometimes they're used interchangeably, but does that confuse customers somehow, or what's the guidance here?
I think it's going to take both of us to answer on this one. But honestly, they're really kind of one and the same, in my opinion.
Okay.
Everyone's migrating not just to get to a place. They're migrating here to AWS for a reason, and I think Curran could probably elaborate more on.
So,
what that looks like.
so what you're saying is maybe migration without modernization might be not in your best interest.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if you're going to go through the effort of taking your on-premise IT and migrating it to the cloud, wouldn't you want to take advantage of all of the additional capabilities that cloud offers? I mean,
Yes.
it's sort of a no-brainer that you should be modernizing wherever possible as you migrate. And cloud operations is, I think, always top of our list as we work with customers. This should be one of the first areas that you're thinking about modernizing is your operation model, your operations, your operating model, your tool set. All of those are things, it's the process and the technology side. One of the first things that our customers should be thinking about modernizing is they go and initiate a migration.
So we're here at the DC Summit. There's a lot of customers in regulated industries where compliance is crucial. What sort of guardrails do we offer for helping those customers that are in those regulated industries along their migration path journey, if you will, voyage?
It's always about the journey. Yeah, I mean, with cloud operations, I was mentioning earlier, we cover not only monitoring observability, but governance compliance, really big topic, and it's something that we look to a lot of our basic foundational tooling, like Systems Manager, Config, Control Tower, which we have some of my colleagues coming on today to talk even more in depth about, which we're excited.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. But it's also something that a lot of our customers feel they haven't really had in terms of a native capability with AWS, and it's something that has been high in demand for people that have really been looking to, like, hey, where can we go native where possible? We're trying to consolidate, or we just love the cloud-based cost models. Whatever the reason is. We've been listening because that's obviously something we do here when we do develop technology. So we've been investing a lot of our time and energy. You have a team like myself that's really focused on helping these highly regulated customers learn more about what we have, because a lot of people really don't know the full capabilities we have in the cloud ops space. And right now, between not only just Control Tower and Config, Systems Manager, and all CloudTrail, but we're even innovating on the side of our observability capabilities. Now we have full stack native observability, and we're having those conversations that not a lot of people know we can do these things that can complement their existing strategy, their existing third-party solutions. A lot of these great conversations.
I actually interviewed someone that was talking about DevOps Guru and then also X-Ray and just like the predictive analysis that could come from using those types of tools. And I thought that was pretty darn neat.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of conversations where we have to let customers know that there's a lot of controls that you can inherit now from these observability tools, where it's not where the team's responsible for getting all the evidence for their whatever auditor that they have to meet in front of. A lot of times, using some of these AWS services, they get to inherit those controls, inherit some artifacts and documentation that they can just hand over to the auditor. I see a lot of customers really enjoying that, getting used to not having to produce all of that evidence on their own.
Yeah, I mean, Audit Manager, for instance. Yeah, I mean, that's really building around that whole cloud operations piece. It's a really big conversation. So to your point, having that full visibility, generating this evidence, and making sure the right guardrails and everything is in line with compliance. These are very top of mind topics for especially a lot of our public sector customers.
Yeah, and I feel like also because if we look at AWS as the technology, it's a huge API. And so doing things like asset inventory and understanding how your environment is constructed is much easier than if you were having an on-prem environment. I remember spinning up systems to just index what the environment for an on-prem environment may even look like, and if that data is accurate or not, maybe.
Yeah. It also goes back, I think, to one of those core benefits of the cloud, which is in an on-prem environment, you're responsible for building everything from scratch and figuring everything out. And a lot of the things we're talking about here, right? It goes back to the old, there's no compression algorithm for experience. That experience gets baked back into tools, services, and offerings in the AWS cloud. And even some of, I'd say, the non-technical offerings around, process governance side of things as well. AWS has made an investment, over the past 7, 8 years in how do we help our customers with things outside of our services. So we're really addressing all 3 legs of the stool that we mentioned earlier. But especially in the services, having the experience of other government organizations that came before you, having that feedback, those best practices from folks like yourself and your team baked into those services, it's really just an accelerator for IT as a whole. It de-risks it, it accelerates the journey because you've got all of these things baked in that you don't have to build yourself.
Yeah, in fact, yesterday we were talking about the new well-architected custom lens, the ORR lens, about doing exactly what you just said, passing on all of our experience, bringing new services to life, and then just giving that to our customers. Like, here, this is what we've learned over the years, and here are some questions that you can ask yourself to help with your operations as well.
Even with system managers, incident manager, we took our years of experience with managing large-scale events and built it into a service that customers can use for managing incidents, and then also including like the 5 whys. I always call that the my daughter asking me why, Dad. But and you mentioned another point where this isn't just a technology journey, but this is a executive journey as well on how are you going to strategize to operationalize your new migrated environment, but also how can you maintain to be successful after the migration is complete. And are there resources for those that are in the non-technical capacity, like the decision makers, to say, we are moving to AWS?
Yep, absolutely. So again, as a company to help our customers be successful, we have a plethora of resources that are so much broader than just the services and technology. So I'd say the first place it starts is AWS has experts designed to help customers at all levels, including folks like our executive strategists and our enterprise strategist team. So they're folks that have been through these types of transformations as customers, many in government. So we have state, local government, education, US federal government, folks that have been CIOs, CISOs, even IT finance and procurement that can come and help share their experience and best practices related to leading through a migration. Even beyond that, we have as well, assessments, frameworks, and things that our experts, folks like migration advisors, specialists like Garrett and Garrett's team, that can come and not just come in and share our knowledge, but help the customer self-assess and self-plan. One thing that's always stood out to me helping customers through cloud is there really is no single checklist for what you need to do to prepare for a transformation. Everyone's journey is so different, everyone's checklist is different. But what we've actually figured out is the questions they're asking to build their unique checklist are the same. So we have experts that can come in with that list of questions, with those frameworks, with some of those best practices that we can use to help our customers understand what does their unique journey need to look like.
And I feel like, where we have a team that specializes in this, which I just learned about just now, which is awesome to hear about. I feel like there's also a lot of our different partners that help with migrations as well. And so maybe if a customer's already working with another partner, they could help with their migration. So there's multiple ways to get help, it sounds like.
Yep, absolutely.
You shouldn't be stuck.
Yep, and all of these resources that we have from our AWS teams, all of these are shared with our partners. So one of the things that's great is, even let's say AWS Professional Services, they've documented all of their best practices, approaches, and lessons learned, and they've shared those out with our partners as well as our customers through our AWS website. So again, all of that experience, all that knowledge, all those lessons learned, sometimes the easy way, sometimes the hard way, those have been packaged up through our partners and our AWS teams to help our customers be successful.
Even when it comes to our services too. I mean, obviously I focus on our native services for this, but a lot of our big partners, the Dynatraces, New Relics, the Splunks, they do amazing work, and we're still working on integrating with those too and trying to work together because honestly, as we all say, these guys aren't operating all the same.
Yeah.
So this really gives us an opportunity where if there's a buy versus build conversation, we have this vast community and ecosystem to help deliver for our customers and understand that, and it's part of our conversations.
That's really cool. All right, well, so are there any parting words you would say in the next 2 minutes where you're like, Kyle, here's the words of wisdom. Be gone.
Kyle, these words of wisdom that I have for you. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like what you should really get from all of this is there is just a tremendous amount of resources here. It's endless. Whether it's the migration team or a massive team of the worldwide specialist organization that I'm a part of, we're all here to really roll our sleeves up and help the best we can and help address this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people will go to their AWS account team and say, we need to do something technical. We need to get this application, maybe make it serverless and figure out how to run that. But it's more than that. It's like we need to help convince our VPs that this makes sense. We need to help our businesses realize what more they can do in the cloud. It's not just the technical stuff. I'm just building on what you're saying. It's more than that. So
Definitely.
think outside the box when you think of how your AWS account team can help you.
We're an extension of your AWS account team.
Yeah.
We're here to provide that added bit of resources and knowledge on that piece.
We are here to help.
We're here to help you. Talk to us.
Talk to us. Talk to me. Talk to me. All right, well, gentlemen, it was great to talk to you. I learned much more about our migration, especially for our customers in these regulated industries. And I appreciate the work that has been put into being able to help these customers move from an on-prem environment to AWS.
And it sounds like we're going to have some more sessions here on AWS On Air throughout the day about cloud operations and some of the cool things that you guys have to offer.
Full day, full slate, a bunch of great content, some of the AI ops stuff you're talking about.
Cool.
Stay tuned. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, stick around because we got some more awesome stuff about scaling your multi-account strategy coming up next. Nick, you got to hit the on button.